Hi friends, University of Dice, Dave here. I was talking with a friend recently who I'm teaching how to play Dice Masters, and he was putting together a team, and we had a discussion about some of the cards that he included. And one of the things that I mentioned was that there was a card he had in there that did something pretty cool, but most times it wasn't going to do a whole lot for him at all. And this is a topic we used to talk about a lot back on the Attack Zone or the old Reserve Pool podcast. I'm sure I discussed it there. I can't remember which. I might have done a Level Up article on the Reserve Pool website about that as well. But that topic is the average case scenario. It's really easy to look at a card and think, oh my gosh, this is going to do something really cool. And it might do something really cool. It might have that capability. But if a lot of the time it's not going to do that cool thing, you have to ask yourself if it's worth including on your team. And I have a few examples here of some things that we can look at. I actually talked about this a little bit the other day on my Thanos video when we were considering, do we include Wong? Now you see, the issue with this game, not the issue, it's the thing to consider strongly about this game, is that probability is inherent in everything we're doing. And when you have rolls on top of rolls on top of rolls, you need to consider what you're getting to. Now, I'm no mathematician, so I'm not going to give you hard numbers. Maybe somebody in the comments would like to share. But let's start this conversation with Wong, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So Wong, second rate Jarvis, when you field him, if you spent one or more mask energy to field him, reroll target opposing character die. Well, what's the problem with that? The main problem is that notice his first level face is free to field. So that means that you only get this on level 2 and level 3. You got to spend that mask energy there. So Wong has to roll level 2 or level 3. So 4 of those faces you don't want to see. The majority of those faces do not help you if you're trying to get something out of the way. Now, the other thing is, of course, you have to have a mask. For some teams, that's easier than others. And of course, you can't probably use a question mark there either, right? Because this specifies a mask. I can't use a question mark and say, oh, well, this is a mask. This is specifying a mask. And usually where we have energy specified like this, outside of a cost, obviously a global, a wild can count as anything for those purposes. But usually when we care about what type of energy something is for an ability like this, we're saying it has to be that printed on the die. So we have one on a sidekick, and maybe depending on the other characters you brought. Okay, so it might be a little more possible depending on your team if you have other masked characters. I'm not sure. So you have this on 2 of his faces, so 4 of them are no good, and you have to have a mask. Well, now this doesn't look quite as nice, right? And of course, there's the inherent 50-50 in the reroll, right? You might reroll them and nothing happens. That's not good. They're a field. Or maybe they get stronger, right? If they're on level 1, they reroll. Now they're level 3. Uh-oh. Now, of course, they could roll to energy, and that's wonderful. But that's always inherent to anything that's rerolling. And rerolling is good, right? We like Joker. We like Storm. We like Psylocke. Those are fine. But that's inherent to all of them. So the benefit to Wong, of course, is he costs a lot less. But we add layers of probability on top of the variance that we already have inherent to his ability. And that's a problem. I would think very carefully before I selected Wong onto a team. Now, we put Wong on that Thanos team. We had a purpose for him, but we weren't solely relying on him. We also had that Joker there, for example. Wong is more of a pivot purchase because there are some situations where on that Thanos team, you might not even care about buying Proxima Midnight. If my opponent brings a Dark Phoenix Global for me, I'm going to pip the Troll to tax that Global, and then I'm going to not bother with Proxima because I have the Global available to me to make things cheaper. So I might just go with a cheaper character like Wong to get me started. But we do have to be careful if we're relying on Wong for removal, right? If we're putting removal on the team, right, we want it there for a reason. The removal needs to work, at least a decent percentage of the time. And before we can even get to that 50-50 roll, Wong is a little harder to activate to begin with. So that's the average case scenario. The average case scenario is it's going to be hard to get him to do what you want to do. You're happy when he does, but a lot of times you're not going to be happy. So what are some other examples? Hawk Girl, right? I'm sorry if you pulled this super rare. I'm not trying to poo-poo you here or anything like that. I think she's a fine card, but when she rolls her double energy face, you can field a Hawk Girl character die from your used pile at level 1. Okay, fine. So once again, 2 out of 6 faces, and then it happens if you also have another Hawk Girl die in your used pile. Now, it's certainly possible to curate your used pile to do this, but there are a lot of times when this simply will not fire. Also, if I just roll her a level 1 face, I'm fielding her for free anyway. So I guess you could look at it as 50% of the time I'm at least getting a character out of this, except I'm not getting anything if I don't have her in the used pile. So again, I think average case scenario, she's not going to do anything for you here. And this is setting aside any other synergies we have within the Justice League or anything like that. We've talked a little about Storm and Psylocke. I like them because they allow you to reroll 2 other things, and those things go to use, which is also nice. They do the damage, which is also nice. So I think these can be worthwhile, but you have to realize that most of the time you're not doing 4 damage with these, you're doing 2. Sometimes you're doing none, sometimes you will do 4. Most of the time you're doing 2. It's more fair to evaluate it on that basis rather than the fact, oh my goodness, I can do 4 damage. Same deal with Psylocke. Professor X Uncanny Leadership. You know, the Energize here again. Move an X-Men die from your used pile to your prep area. That's great if you have an X-Men die in your used pile. So for this to matter, you have to have some other X-Men that you care about on your team. At least one. Not necessarily ideal. And then what happens once you have your X-Men in the field? Let's say you are using him to activate a particular X-Men. They're in the field. All of the copies that you've bought. What's Professor X doing now? I guess the most he's doing is tanking some damage for you because his defensive stats are pretty solid. But he's not doing a whole lot else for you in that mode of the game. And Groot here, you can recruit Rocket. That's a lot of fun. Very on flavor. But let's look at the global here. Choose an affiliation of a character die you fielded this turn. Move a character die with that affiliation from your used pile to your bag. So again, you have to be playing multiple of a particular affiliation. Some teams great, some teams not. And that thing has to be in your used pile. Now, I think the benefit here, at least, is you get to pick the affiliation rather than have Groot. It has to be Guardian since Groot's a Guardian. But it's still something to think about here. So the average case scenario, what's it going to do most of the time? You could look at this, and I'm sure you could come up with some crazy ways with a card like this, or with something like Hawk Girl. These crazy scenarios where all of a sudden you have really good bag fixing, or something like that, right? The Groot thing can be great where after you purchase something, it can go right to your bag. But you also have to have fielded something of that same affiliation. That's just not going to happen that often. It just requires too many moving parts. So average, it's not going to help you that much. There are other cards like that. These are by no means the only ones. These are just a subset that I picked out here. But when you're evaluating cards in summation, think about the average case in which you're going to use it rather than the ideal. You're going to evaluate cards a lot better and also build decks a lot stronger. In any case, thank you so much. Please check out the deck text, the unboxings, the gameplay that we have here. There's more of that coming at you on the University of Dice. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.